Now for this news, we start with Sudan. UN Rights Chief Volker Turk has urged urgent action to stop horrific atrocities in Sudan's el-Fasher. Turk has also urged countries not to wait until a genocide was declared in the region. Let's listen in.
I think it's clear that atrocity crimes are being committed as we speak. The fact that you have a siege is already in and of itself an atrocity crime. Whether or not it qualifies for genocide is again for traditional authorities to say, but we shouldn't wait for any of this. We should act now when these horrific atrocities are being committed as we speak. I mean, there is a call for us when it comes to war crimes, crimes against humanity, to act for the international community. You don't need to wait until a court decides that it's been genocide.
Canada, Norway, Australia and other nations have stated that they were gravely alarmed by reports of systematic and ongoing violence against civilians in Sudan. The Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which has been at war with the regular army since April of 2023, that has captured the last military stronghold in western Darfur on 26th of October. Since el-Fasher's takeover after a grueling 18-month siege, the United Nations and rights monitors have reported widespread atrocities, including ethnically driven killings and abductions. Now for this discussion, we welcome Ayanuga Olubengapol. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Nigeria. Thank you very much, Ayanuga, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this, what are the political responsibilities for the international community and the UN have in responding to this escalating violence in el-Fasher, and why has this violence escalated to this extent? Is there nobody in the world who can mediate and stop RSF clashing with the Sudanese government?
Well, I think the UN is doing what they could by raising their alarm, and thank God the UN is now raising their alarm so loud, telling the powerful countries in the world not to wait until this is declared a genocide before they now start shedding crocodile tears and scrambling to say they want to help. Now is the time they want to help. On the part of the RSF, I think what the RSF is trying to do is, having secured el-Fasher after the 18-month-long war, they want to use the people in el-Fasher as human shield to be able to protect themselves from the government forces who may want to invade and take back the place from them. And whenever these people try to escape, that is what is fueling this wanton killing of people in that location. So that's what I believe that the RSF is trying to do. But of course, just like when Donald Trump sneezed the other time, and the Nigerian government and terror sponsors and everybody who are supposed to do something about the terrorism issue in Nigeria took notice, and we were able to see a lot of drastic improvement and changes everywhere in the last 2 weeks since that diplomatic spat between Nigeria and US. The same way, if the powerful countries in the world should sneeze properly and say they are willing to come in, maybe put boots on the ground, country like US, Canada, France, England, or even the African Union itself, if they are willing to put boots on the ground to checkmate the RSF, I believe that the RSF will be more open to negotiation, because they know that a more powerful force is coming in that will give them more problem. But the world powers are not doing that, and this makes you ask the question: is it that the powerful countries that the UN is calling out to, is it that they are benefiting something from the raging war and they don't want the war to end? Because if they are benefiting something from it, maybe for example, they are getting to buy black market crude oil at dirt cheap prices and other things like that, they may not want the country's war to end, so that they won't be held accountable for all of these things. But if that is not the case, we would have seen them acted promptly and swiftly. But even if that is the case, we are only joining voices with the UN to say, please, human lives matters first, more than the oil, more than the gold, the diamond, whatever it is you are mining of the earth in the disputed region. Human life matters. If there's anything you can do to assist, don't wait till we are now counting in the millions the number of people that have died, because the number of people that have died since the war began is almost 200,000 people that have died. So we shouldn't wait till we are counting in the millions before the world now does what it does regularly: come out, shed crocodile tears, make speeches here and there, and then send armies.
Yes.
We need those armies now. We need those support now to help flush out these terrorists who are killing people at an outrageous and alarming level.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. Human life indeed, of course, matters 100%. And now looking at this, how might these actions or how might the collapse of local military control affect regional stability in Darfur and Sudan? Do you think that Sudan could split into two or more countries looking at this?
Well, I don't think the Sudanese government have the capacity. Clearly, the RSF has routed them in many places. I just believe that, and I was hoping to hear countries like Kenya, like Ethiopia, Eritrea, all those countries that border Sudan to also cry out, because there is no way that the spillover from this crisis in Sudan will not be felt in those countries. So I am surprised that as much as we are hearing UN voices, we are not hearing the voices of those countries, maybe at AU level, calling for help to ensure that this issue is nipped in the bud, so that the problem does not spill over into their own various countries.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Ayanuga Olugbengapol for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we stay in the region. The African Union has called for an urgent international response, including intelligence sharing, to address worsening security conditions in Mali, where insurgents are imposing a fuel blockade and kidnapping foreigners. An al-Qaeda-linked jihadist group active in West Africa's Sahel region has blocked fuel imports since September, attacking convoys of tankers and creating a shortage that forced schools and businesses to shut. However, schools in Mali's capital, Bamako, reopens after a 2-week suspension caused by a nationwide fuel shortage that has had paralyzed public transport and kept teachers and students at home. Teachers and parents have expressed relief in Bamako, but are still worried about the impact of further shortages. Let's listen into what some of the school teachers have said.
C'est le 10, convenablement à ce que le ministre a dit, on a repris. Ça se passe très bien. On a repris, les élèves sont là, les professeurs sont en classe, et puis encore, les nouveaux orientés aussi sont là à faire des inscriptions.
Avec cette petite interruption, ça pourra jouer un peu sur le programme, parce que déjà l'année scolaire est étendue sur 9 mois. Et nous avons même commencé un peu en retard, et avec cette interruption encore, donc ça va nous mettre encore plus en retard. Bon, nous, on va essayer de faire le maximum quand même pour essayer de rattraper.
Now for this discussion, we welcome back Mr. Ayanuga Olugbengapol. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Lagos. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now looking at the situation in Mali, to what extent can the African Union mobilize member states and international partners to support Mali without escalating the conflict or creating dependency?
With Mali is peculiar in that, the problem with Mali is already spilling over to many other African countries. In fact, the Islamic organization that is terrorizing the government in Mali is also one of the many terrorist organizations that we've had to deal with here in Nigeria. And the spats, I think last year or 2 years ago, between the ECOWAS community government when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria was still the ECOWAS chairman, and the countries whose government changed to military is making the ECOWAS to be cautious, because the body language of the ECOWAS then was quickly repelled by the trio of Burkina Faso, I think Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger Republic. So with that situation, then it's making ECOWAS think twice before they act on some of these issues. And because Mali itself is a landlocked country, and the terror organizations or the local militias seems to be operating along the borderline, so that is why it is easier for them to stop the supply of fuel into that country. And the government needs to personally now reach out to say, I need help from its ECOWAS brother, from its AU brother, before they can make any attempt to come in. But because of the earlier spat 2 years ago, or was it last year, I think they are also thinking twice before they ask for help. But the earlier they do, I think the better, because the more the terrorists continue to gain ground, the more emboldened they become, and at the end of the day, who knows what is happening in el-Fasher in Sudan might also happen there if they are not careful.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Ayonuga Olugbenga Paul for joining us as a public affairs analyst and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much.